Please help support the channel by visiting our Amazon store, affiliate link below. Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is $3 Theater, and this is my review, my what I think of Star Trek Discovery, Season 1, Episode 7, Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad. Now, one of the things I will fully admit I'm not a gigantic fan of with this show is the titles. I just feel like they come across like a pretentious art house type film feeling. It's like, oh, how do we make this the most pretentious title we can? Because that just it doesn't really feel super. It doesn't feel right to me. The Orville's titles are easy to remember, and you can identify them by their titles, or relatively and whatnot. This is like this one and the other one. The butcher's knife cares not for the lamb's cry. It's like, really? Stop it. Okay, just stop it, Star Trek Discovery, with these titles. It looks like the next one is even going to be worse with Si Vis Pacem Para Bellum. It's Latin, I think. I got no idea, but again, it's going to be one of those things where I'm going to have to recite it, and I don't want to. But this episode is one that's probably going to be a bit divisive for some people. I quite enjoyed it, but then again, the context or the subtext of the episode is something I really liked, and it happened to deal a lot with Michael Burnham's character and her coming out of her shell and her learning to kind of live with herself post what happened on the Shenzhou and be with these people, this new crew, and then try to make the most of her situation and even allow herself to feel something. Again, her entire journey as a character as to what it's like to be human. What it's like to experience those things that are spending all that time on Vulcan. That, again, was a big part of the previous episode where they were trying to find Sarek in the nebula, was all about her exploring her human side and also, finding love. And this episode ultimately boiled down to that, which is what I'll get to that. So the whole plot line this time around is that, there's a time loop, a 30-minute time loop on the ship where it keeps getting blown up, keeps getting reset. And the reason why is because Rainn Wilson's Harry Mudd is back to take over the Discovery and to get his revenge on Lorca and Ash for leaving him behind a few episodes prior in the Klingon jail, as well as to sell the Discovery to the Klingons in order to further end the war for the Starfleet and earn enough profit to essentially, buy his way in with his beloved Sophia, or Stella. Sorry, Stella is her name. And the whole time here is, no one knows that he is, doing this. They all keep just reliving the same 30 minutes, with the exception of Stamets, who, because of his, you could say the integration with the tardigrade DNA has allowed him to become aware of this particular loop and then find a way around it. And that, of course, is the entire crux of the episode, is how can he convince Michael and Ash and everyone else who he needs to use in order to find out how to stop Harry Mudd and find out what Harry Mudd is using. Is definitely an interesting episode. It's like Groundhog Day in space, and there's a great scene where Harry is lamenting about all of the times he killed Lorca, including one of them where he beams him literally into space and he suffocates and he dies in space. I thought that was just like, wow, okay, we're going there, we're going there. I mean, granted, the show always tends to kind of to defy expectations in that regard, and that's one of the reasons why I think a lot of diehard Trekkies are having trouble with it, whereas people like me that are kind of like moderate Trekkies are that says the guy with the Star Wars hat on and everything else are maybe enjoying it a bit more, but it's still, I really do I did like the episode quite a bit. Probably my favorite thing about the episode is the song that they used in the party scene. It was a Wyclef Jean song from 1990s, I want to say 1997, 1998, where if you go and you watch the movie The Big Hit with Mark Wahlberg and Lou Diamond Phillips and Bokeem Woodbine, that was produced by John Woo, that was actually one of the songs, that was a song they used in the trailer. When I was in high school, I freaking loved that trailer and I love that song. So when it popped up on this, on the Starship Discovery and whatever, Star Trek Discovery, I'm just like, oh, cool, man, that's cool. But see, the big problem with something like that, as well as maybe the Orville pulling in those dated references, so to speak, is that like we as the audience are aware of what they're attempting to do, and even though these are events that take place multiple hundred years in the future, they're not pulling back from any of the other the previous generations. They're not pulling from anything that happens post our world right now, but before them. And I noticed that quite a bit. That's actually probably one of my only complaints with the Orville thus far, is that, and that was also one of the complaints here. Even though I love the song, it could have been anything. That could have been a big, could have been a hit in 2150, right? We wouldn't know, but they would know it. So something like that. Anyway, that was, again, that's one of my complaints. But the episode, it has a lot to do with Stamets actually showing emotion. That was kind of weird when we first see him, and he wants to like give everyone a hug, and he seems kind of loopy and kind of dazed. And you think this has a lot to do with the whole mirror universe that we got a bit of a glimpse of a couple episodes earlier. We didn't see him at all in the last episode, so it's kind of like, what's he been up to? What's going on? Is this just a side effect of what happened with the tardigrade integration, and also the fact that he's kind of now the pilot, or the navigation computer for the Spore Drive. So, we're kind of a little bit unsure about that, but it was good to see Anthony Rapp actually, kind of express a few more emotions rather than utter disdain and annoyance. So that was pretty good. But then, of course, he plays kind of like the main part of the episode of him trying to convince, Michael of what's going on. And when he finally does, she comes on board. And then she is also exploring her feelings for Ash at the time, or Ash Tyler. She's working around that. She's never experienced anything involving love before. She actually says that that's the one thing she told to Stamets that he would be able to use as a way to convince her that what he's telling her is true. And she says, "I've never been in love." And that again plays in heavily with the situation with Ash, where at the beginning of the episode, she has her, her personal log where she's talking about her integration with the staff, and how she enjoys some people more than others. And it cuts to her talking with Ash and everything else. And then we see that, throughout the course of the episode, when time keeps resetting, he's asking, wants to ask her to dance. They do end up sharing their first kiss, which they, of course, neither one of them would remember, but it was nice to see that sort of thing happen. And again, like I said, this entire episode was about love. It was about love. It was Harry Mudd was doing all this to the star to the Discovery, because he wanted to basically marry Stella. He wanted to get the money to pay for her dowry, and he also was indebted to the Klingons. So that's why he was doing this, right? So he's doing it for love. Stamets and his partner, they love each other. So he wants to save him because, of love. We've got Michael Burnham, and we've got Ash, and they're coming into this relationship, this budding romance, so to speak. And that then can fall into something that would be considered love. I was talking about it on Twitter to somebody, and they were just all like, "Oh, there's no dramatic tension with the ship because we already know they're not going to destroy the ship in the first season, so that would be kind of dumb." And I'm like, I don't disagree with that sentiment, but the overall plot of Mudd doing all this with the ship and everything is clearly not the point of the episode. The point was very much a character examination of Michael Burnham and her experiences, or lack thereof, in terms of the romantic department, and then coming to not only accept that maybe somebody does like her in a romantic way, but also that she can like somebody in a romantic way, and then also further come about what it's like to be human. So I liked the exploration of that. And of course, they end up saving the day with Harry, and they call in his fiance and her father, and then the fiance's totally forgiving of him. And then they all just take him away, promising never to bug Starfleet ever again. Real kind of neatly wrapped up finale with a bow. And I didn't really care for that, to be honest with you. I wasn't a big fan of that. The reason why I wasn't a big fan of that is I felt like there was no repercussions for Harry Mudd spending the episode literally killing everybody multiple times. There was no consequence for that. Even though that technically never happened, you figure there still would have been some kind of, penance for him or whatever. And so the other thing too is there was also a bit of bad writing towards the last half when they were trying to bring the episode home, because they're on a 30-minute loop, so they only have so much time. And Stamets has to explain to Michael what's wrong, and then she has to go and try to explain it to Ash. And then Ash ends up getting killed by a bit of dark matter, like weaponized dark matter that Mudd had found in Lorca's office. And then, of course, they find out that the time crystal that he's using to control all this is currently in the belly of basically a space whale that he had used, as kind of as a decoy, as a trap, as a Trojan horse, really, to get onto the ship. And so then they need to reset the timeline. At this point, then they're resetting the timeline, and she's got the information that she can use to then, you know, set up the bringing down of Mud by filling everyone in on the situation, and then also rewiring certain elements of the ship's computer to find out what they need to know in order to stop him, which was like going into the computer's logs, which were not a critical mission or a critical programming that Mud had taken over, and to find out that he had this girlfriend and that who she was, and then to put the call out to her, then of course to rewire the captain's chair so then he couldn't have control over that. I mean, things that didn't really feel like it was Stamets who was the one who was reliving the day, so Stamets would have been the one to have to get all this information in order to relay all that information, but then at the end it went to Michael, and Michael was able to do it, so it didn't make a lot of sense in terms of how Michael was able to then have understanding of that day. Maybe it's because she killed herself and it just kind of reset her timeline. I don't know. That to me was just a big plot hole in terms of wrapping the episode up. That was my only really complaint with it. I thought that it was definitely good. It was a fun episode. It was a lot about love. That was story-wise. The finale was kind of just a little bit ham-fisted, and I feel they can do better and that they've been doing better. But this is still an evolving show, and one that there's always going to be, you know, there's going to be some good stuff and there's going to be some bad stuff. But, you know, hey, man, every Sunday I've been watching it, and every Sunday I've been enjoying it. Some people out there aren't still. That's perfectly fine. Someone told me last week, because I said I enjoyed the show, that they're going to stop watching my reviews because I enjoyed it. I'm like, well, then cool. I don't care. I'm not watching this for you. I'm watching this for me, talking about it because I want to see the show evolve. I want to watch something like this that's been so heavily disliked and is still failing in some aspects, but getting other things right. And I want to see it build, just as I want to see the Orville do very well, and to build and to address some of its own flaws and to grow upon that, to evolve to the next season. And the fact that the Orville's numbers have jumped up quite a bit have also really helped out. Also, in case you probably have heard by now, but in case you haven't, Star Trek Discovery has been renewed for a second season. So there's one gentleman in the Midnight's Edge Facebook group that I had a bit of a row with, who absolutely hates Star Trek Discovery, and he was running his mouth for weeks saying, "Oh, it's not going to be renewed. Netflix is in arbitration," and so he's probably eating a little bit of crow right now, and I'm totally okay with that. I don't know why I put that in this video, but screw that guy. Anyway, those are my thoughts on this. Want to know what you guys think too? Let me know in the comments below. My name is, of course, Matt Jarbo. This has been 3 Buck Theater. I'll talk to you guys later. Have yourself a great day, and I'll see you later. Peace out.